Well, hello again, and welcome to Doing It Right. Oh my gosh. This is such fun today because I am going to interview someone that has been a national ESPN sports journalist, walking those sidelines. Stay tuned.
Welcome to our podcast, Doing It Right. This podcast reveals authentic stories from successful leaders doing it right. It's about their journey to become a leader, their choices, motivations, and lessons. In essence, how they built successful personal brands. Your host is Valerie Sokolosky, author of 8 leadership books and nationally known as an authority on executive presence and personal branding. Let's get started. Here's Valerie.
Lisa Burkhardt Worley.
You said it right. Congratulations. Not everybody does.
Well, you know what? With a name like Sokolosky, most people don't. So I'm glad I said it right. I'm so glad you're on the show with me today, a broadcaster that I have been admiring for a lot of years. And you're going to tell us how to do it right, aren't you?
I'm going to try to do it right here on this show. But thanks for having me on, Valerie. I'm so excited to see you again and also to be on your program.
Thank you. It's really a pleasure. Well, let me tell you, audience, a little bit about Lisa Burkhardt Worley. She, at the beginning of her young life, she told me she always wanted to be a sports broadcaster. And that was way long before women were walking the sidelines at NFL. Is that right?
Yes, it is. I actually love sports. I played sports.
What'd you play?
I played basketball in college, volleyball and basketball in high school. But hey, I was born a little bit back, right? And they did not have a girls' basketball team when I went to high school.
I was going to ask you about the, yes.
So we started it.
Yeah,
I actually made an announcement on the intercom at school and asked if any girls were interested in playing basketball, that they would show up at the gym after school. I was called into the vice principal's office by second period asking me what I was doing. And I said, well, I just want to see if there's any interest. And sure enough, we had 63 girls in the gym after school that day, and they hired a coach the next year to coach basketball and volleyball.
Well, you have always been a woman before her time. And surely when you started your career, which I want to get into, at ESPN, that was unheard of, was it?
Yes. I actually started here in Dallas, where we were taping this show. I was an intern at Channel 8, which is WFAA, and I was in intern sports with a guy named George Reba, who's now retired, Vern Lundquist, a lot of people know. And I just got my start there, and George allowed me to report on the weekends for his show. And then I went on to Chattanooga, Tennessee, big market, and loved it there. I made some great friends there, and then ended up in my hometown of San Antonio, but I didn't really go to the national level. And I was actually on HBO Sports for 3 years. Inside the NFL was a program that they had, and I don't even know where that is now, maybe on Showtime. But that's when I got my big national break, and so I did that for a few years, and then also got a job in New York City, so I anchored on the Knicks, the Rangers, and the Yankees games, MSG Sports Desk. And then after that, it was after a career crash that I ended up doing some freelance reporting for ESPN.
What do you mean career crash?
Oh, yeah, well, I had gone into this because I love sports, and I didn't do it to be on television or anything like that.
But you've always had the voice for it.
Yeah, well, these press passes got me floor seats, for free. I got into games for free, but I really loved reporting on sports. But the television industry is tough, and you can get not renewed on a contract for a variety of reasons. They may just want somebody else, or they want to make a change. And so for myself, in the same week, I lost my MSG position.
What is that?
The Madison Square Garden Network.
Okay.
And then I also lost, this is 1993, I lost my HBO Sports Inside the NFL. And that was a hard one because I loved doing that job. And he said, well, we weren't looking to replace you, Lisa, and he named a name that was more famous than me. She wants to do it, and that's how I lost.
Was that political?
Yeah, maybe. Same parties, because she was at CBS, and so I lost that job. And for about 6 months, I was really searching, and so I ended up. I'm a Christian. I went back to church and prayed, and I was reading the Bible for the first time, and I felt like God said to me, I gave you a national platform to glorify me, but you didn't do it. I had to take it away to get your attention. And so then
And did he just come out and say that, or what do you mean? How did you know that?
I prayed. I was praying. And so I had actually asked him why. I wasn't even a follower at that time. And when I lost my jobs, and I asked him why he would take that away from me. Why would he take my livelihood? And I'm sure people in the audience have probably said that same thing. If you've lost a job, why in the world did this happen? You start blaming God, but I hadn't really been following him at all. And so it was the answer to my questions. He finally, once I was finally, I would call, immersed in his word and that kind of thing, he literally answered my venomous questions, and he said that, I wasn't honoring him with my work. And so I said, look, if you give me another chance as a sportscaster, I'll give you not only my career, I'll give you my life. And so that day I did what they call churchese, Christianese. I surrendered my life to God. And so that's the next week, I kid you not, the next week, I heard from my New York City agent, and he said that ESPN wanted to know if I would do some freelance reporting for them. And so I did that for 6 months.
Isn't that interesting? It's like boom, 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 boom.
Yes.
Things happen. He's never late. So I have to share a story on camera that at a time of my life when things were really down, I just happened to open, this happens to be, by the way, her book, I'm going to talk about it in a minute, but I just happened to open a Bible sitting next to me, and what I opened to was very simple, I'll never forget it, and it's easy to remember. Be still and know that I am God. And I hung on to that for many years, and I still do. Let's talk about your book.
Okay, sure.
So I want to hold it up. Treasure of Pearls of Wisdom, 52-week devotional. So how did this happen?
Well, it's our 11th book, and so this was
11th.
It's our 11th book. Yes.
When you say our.
Pearls of Promise. That's the ministry that I lead. I founded it back in 2009. We actually became a thing in 2013, and we began writing books. We have a team and speaking, and now it's grown to a television show called Pop Talk, an interview show kind of like this, but we have more on the set. And
It's a great show.
We do devotions online and a conference every year. But this is our second devotional book, and I just really had it in my heart, Valerie, to do a new devotional book. So the first book we ever did was a devotional book, and it was in 2013. We have a new team, and I just thought it'd be nice to put something together for people and more current. And so this is my vision. I wanted to do a 365-day devotional book, but we ended up compromising and doing a 260 devotional.
Whoops.
It's a 52-week devotional, but Monday through Friday.
Okay.
So I feel like Lane Jordan Burde is the co-author on this book, plus we have some devotions from our team. But Lane and I worked very hard on this, and books are not easy.
Thank you. No, they're
not easy. You think, I'm going to write a devotional. Well, it's not that easy, because you have to have a certain format, and you have to have everything, all your sentences, with periods and quotes around the right place. And anyway, so it's a lot of work to just format it.
Is it online?
It is on
digital?
Amazon.
Is it in digital form?
We don't have an ebook yet. That's next. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I bring that up because, as you know, I've authored 8 books. So they're not all available anymore, but it's great that they can now be on Amazon and digitized, and then you can take things out of it. Anyway, all that's good. I think one of the points you made is related to one of your top takeaways, and I want to go there for just a minute.
Sure.
You said earlier, you were talking about ESPN and your role there, and you said about something happened, so you had to take a risk. I loved your top takeaway that said, embrace risks when you feel inspired.
Yes.
So what does that look like?
Well, I feel like I was led into documentary filmmaking. Now, I was a sportscaster, and it's a little bit different, and it's a 28-minute, 30-second short doc that I've been doing, and so I was in school. I was working my Doctor of Ministry, and my degree is
Okay, hold on a minute.
Okay.
I got to go back. Now, just listen, audience. This is giving me a headache. You are so accomplished. You're getting your doctorate. You're now a film producer of documentaries, and I watched the clip on that.
Oh, good.
Which I want you to talk about. I mean, and seminary.
Yes.
How are you doing all of those things at once, or are they all at once? Tell
No,
us
well,
about
right
that.
now,
Balancing your life is the point I'm
yeah,
getting
this
at.
last stretch has been tough. I say I'm living life in 3D. I was working on 3Ds, a
like that.
devotional book, doctorate, and a documentary. And so all at the same time. And I promised my husband I would never do that again because it was very stressful.
Or he divorce you?
Yeah, I mean, very stressful. I wasn't a good friend. I didn't hang out with people. I didn't go to lunch with people. I had to be so focused on what I was doing.
Sure.
But talking about just taking risks, the documentary work has been that way. I just want to tell the story about Terror in Toulouse. That's our second documentary. Now, this last one did take risks as well, the one that's coming out in February. But the Terror in Toulouse is such a powerful story. If you want to hear it, and if your audience wants to hear it, I'd love to tell it quickly if I can.
Yes, and we'll put a banner up, of course, that they can see.
Yeah, so it's on our YouTube channel, Pearls of Promise Ministries. I was praying about what to do for a doctoral project. I have a written project that I have to do for that, and so I had this dream about Toulouse, France. That's crazy, Toulouse, France. I don't speak French. I've never been to Toulouse, France.
Has you been to France?
I had
period?
been to France, but not to Toulouse.
Okay.
And I saw this bridge and I saw a river. And I thought, is there a bridge and a river in Toulouse, France? And so as soon as I got up, I Googled it and I saw the same bridge and the same river in Toulouse. Well, then I'm thinking it must have something to do with my doctoral project. Did they have an anti-Semitic attack there? Sure
Now,
enough.
why was this about anti-Semitism?
Because my doctoral project is in anti-Semitism.
Okay.
My emphasis is really fighting anti-Semitism. I had a Jewish dad, and he died before I was born, but I was brought back to my Jewish heritage, and so this is where it landed: anti-Semitism. So I'm trying to fight it. So in my little realm of influence. And so I had this dream and I found out they did have an anti-Semitic attack on a Jewish high school where 3 children were killed point blank range by a radical Islamist on a motorcycle. A religious instructor, one of the dad of a couple of the kids, was also killed. And another boy got shot in the heart as he was trying to save the life of the little girl, one of the little girls. And so what am I supposed to do? I don't know anyone in Toulouse. What am I supposed to do? This is about that risk-taking, right? Mm-hmm. And so I thought, well, I'm going to email my professor who is an anti-Semitism, she taught our class, and maybe she knows somebody, but if she doesn't, I'm dead in the water. There's no way that this will work out, right? And so I asked her if she knew somebody from Toulouse. She said she did. She knew a nun. And she said she doesn't live there anymore. She lives in Jerusalem. But when you're ready, I'll give you her contact information. And I said, all right. Well, guess what? This doctoral project got turned down. She said, it wasn't practical. So I went, all right. So I kind of dropped it for a bit. And I didn't get her contact information. But I went to an event in Southlake, Texas, at my school. And as I was leaving, I see a nun at the door. And so I'm like, a nun here at this event. It was for Jewish people who believe in Yeshua. And so as I went up to her and I said, are you Jewish? And she said, yes. And I said, where do you live? And she said, Jerusalem. And I said, have you ever lived in Toulouse, France? And she said, yes. So this is the nun that I was supposed to be connected with right there in Southlake, Texas. And I knew that I was supposed to do this as a documentary. I knew. And that is the risk.
And so the documentary name is
Terror in Toulouse.
Okay.
Has the community recovered? This little documentary, this leap of faith, this taking a risk to do this, to go to I was still worried as I went to France to do this documentary. She did connect me with someone who connected me with someone else who helped us. But I didn't know, what if he didn't show up? What if he didn't, end up coming through? It's a risk. But I did it. It's a powerful documentary, and it has won 47 International Film Festival awards.
Lisa.
47. And I'm not saying that to glorify myself in any way. I'm giving all praise and honor to the one who led me. And so I think he knows that right now anti-Semitism is on the rise and his people are in trouble.
It is.
And so he's sent me ahead to try to do something about this with the visual medium, with documentaries.
Wow, that's powerful. And I love what you said about when you feel inspired, when you feel like you are supposed to do something. And to anyone in the audience, I would just say we've all had those times, right? I want to just wrap that package up with a big bow to say to my listeners and those who are watching, think about any time that you have truly been inspired, and did you do something with it? I think that's a major point, Lisa. Thank you. If you're inspired, do something. Do something.
Just do it.
Just do it. But do it right. Do it
Right,
right.
do it right.
Do it right. And it also, the story also goes to another takeaway, top takeaway, Lisa, that when you said, just because it hasn't been done doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Again, audience, how many times in your life have you had something come up that you've thought, because I have, gee, I should do that, or I want to do that, but no one's done it, so I don't know, maybe it's too hard. Dadgummit, no, that's the time you should do it, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about age doesn't matter. God will use you if
Oh,
you're willing.
boy.
and not just age. Let's say as an audience participant, someone might be thinking, well, I've been in this career even for all my life, and what would I do I want to do this, but oh dear, I've always... Talk to us about, again, it's risks, but on a business note, it's never too late
It's not.
to transition.
I'm a great example of that. When I
are.
left television in 1999, I was in it for 20 years as a secular sportscaster. I said I would never go back, though. You know, it was just very hard, contract to contract, never knowing if you're going to get renewed.
Had to have an agent.
Yeah, I had to have an agent. You know, your makeup, your hair, everything, the cosmetics were very important. And so when I left, I said, you know, I'm good. I think I just want to write books and speak. You know, that's what I want to do. Well, 20 years later, I started getting these repeat messages. Why aren't you doing television? Why aren't you doing a television show? It's just like over and over. And I complained. I said, I'm too old. I'm too old to go back to television. I thought I was too old back then. Now you're asking me to do television. And so sure enough, it just was so many messages. In fact, he started parading women 10 years older than me who do television in front of me. I said, all right. And so I bought the equipment. I'm not a production person. I'm thankful for the production people here in this room.
Yes, amen to my producer.
Thank you, production people, because it's a mess when I try to do it. Yeah. But I went and bought microphones, a mixer. I got a wide angle, like a lens thing.
At home? Were you at home
We did it at home.
Okay.
And so the first one we shot, this television show, and we had a team doing it. I shot it the wrong way for Facebook. I shot it like this because I was trying to get everybody in, and it went sideways on Facebook like this. And so I was like, oh, see, I'm not cut out to do this. But then this guy who owns a production company, who I knew, said, Lisa, hey, let me just do one for free. Let me just show you one for free. And so he did it. It was so good and so much better than what I could possibly do that I actually, my husband and I actually decided this is something we're going to do as a ministry. And so we are paying for the production every month. And it looks great. We're a 4-camera shoot. In fact, this little TV show, Pop Talk, is now one of 5 finalists for a big award at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention.
You're just used to getting awards.
No, I mean, I think that's when we're rewarding. I never go in thinking I'm going to win, but I think he's rewarding the obedience. And so we've been doing the show since 2019. I hate to look at myself still, but I couldn't watch myself when I was younger and I was on television. I had a hard time watching myself. So anyway, it's been really fun, and it's just like what you're doing, Pop Talk. We do topical things, but I'm always listening because we're a healing ministry, Pearls of Promise. And so
what do you mean by that?
Emotional healing. We want to help people overcome past dysfunction. That goes back to my story. I don't know if we'll get to that, but with my mom. And so I just want to help people with their just emotional wounds. And so we, like this last show that just is going to air this week, is about healing supernaturally, like emotional healing and physical healing. And I still feel like God heals. He doesn't heal everyone, but he still can.
Certainly can.
And so
Do anything.
this new show's about that. So I'm always listening for people who have overcome something. And
let's take it from there for a moment, because I don't know anyone that isn't struggling with something. And I was having lunch just this last week with a friend of mine who's actually been on the show and then became a friend. They all do,
I love that. Well, we're already friends.
Well, we were, but many times the guests become, I feel like they're friends. Anyway, she has a psychology practice and psychiatric. And on that note, you said dysfunctions, but I will also ask, are you finding, along with that most people these days are just anxious?
Yeah.
I don't know too many people that aren't, but that goes back to faith. And I will leave it at that, whatever people want to take with that. I don't know what I'd have done without it. You also, let's see, where do I want to take this? My goodness, I've got so many notes. Talk to us about getting now into seminary.
Well, I'm working my Doctor of Ministry right now.
Yes.
At the King's University. That's a whole nother faith.
What are you going to do with that?
Well, it's in Messianic Jewish Studies, and so.
And that's because your father.
Yes, but I think it gives some credibility to the work I'm doing, and so we have been really trying to expand this. This is this new documentary called "Their Blood Cries Out" that's coming out in February to fight Holocaust denial. That's one of 4. And so what we're trying to do is to use the media to reach people, especially Christians, about anti-Semitism. And so we have a Facebook page called A Bridge of Love that honors the Jewish people. And then we also, in addition to that, we'll be starting a website up in the new year. It's my vision. And we'll be working on some anti-Semitism teaching curriculum. So I do think I think the reason why I went to school is to take an anti-Semitism class and to give me a new calling, to fight this hatred. I wouldn't have known the extent of it if I hadn't have been in that class. And so I really think that was the pivoting point. That was actually as I was starting my doctoral studies, which is interesting because I had to do some what they call bridge work, some master's courses before I could go into the doctoral program. And so now
that brain of yours,
no.
Could you just lend it to me some of these days?
I don't know.
That's amazing, Lisa. It really is. You're doing so much good work. So you mentioned other books.
Yes. Well, what would you like to know about? One of the books.
I'd like to know about how simple it is not to write a book.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of people out there, every time I'm speaking and have my books, then they'll say, well, I've thought about writing a book. And I always say, well, you should. Oh, and I can't. Well, yes, you can.
Yeah, you can. If you've got something that you feel in your soul that you want to write about.
That's the point.
I'm an example of that. I wouldn't have 11 books if I didn't feel called to do it. And so I think discipline is a very big part of writing books.
Thank you.
I asked the assistant for Max Lucado, famous Christian speaker and author, how he wrote so many books.
Right.
It's like, how does he do this? Mm-hmm. She said he books out his time. It's like a job for him.
Yes.
2-3 hours a day, and that's his writing time. Mm-hmm. So you really have to do that.
Whether you're inspired or not.
Yes.
Right?
Well, yeah, you sit down. Someone, Phil Cook, I'm going to give him credit. Phil Cook, who's a movie producer, television producer, he was speaking one day at a global media summit, and he said, creative people plant themselves in the chair. That was like
I'm going to write
for
that
me.
down.
Creative people
Like that.
plant themselves in the chair.
And it's true.
And for many years, sitting in a chair was not a good thing for me because my mom, because she struggled emotionally and she sat in a chair all day, and so that was a negative for me. But I thought it's like he gave me a hall pass to sit in my chair. And so I did. I got a book done after that. And so books have timing. Mm-hmm. I will say they have timing.
What do you mean by that?
It may be. I had my father book to help the fatherless, people with father wounds, to point them to God as Father, because I was fatherless and God was always my father. Only father I ever knew. That's what the name of it is. And so it kind of, another book or two jumped in front of it. It wasn't the time.
Interesting.
It wasn't the time for it. So now we've got one that we're trying to write to help people with broken mothers, and it's been sitting, I've written 100 pages, and it's been sitting, waiting, and this devotional just jumped in front of it.
For those of you who are watching or listening who want to write anything, ebooks now, I mean, even an ebook, doesn't matter. Do it.
Yes.
Just do it. I remember very clearly, I met a woman who had 27 books, and I said, to your point, how do you do that? And she said exactly what you did. You just sit down and write. And hers are this thick, Lisa. They aren't books of inspiration or information or devotionals. They're big, thick learning books. And I thought, okay, I get that.
I have a point to make on that, because people are, it's like cleaning your closet. It's like, I can't clean my closet till I can do the whole closet, right? Some people say that, and I'm that person. But with book writing, it doesn't have to be perfect. Mm-hmm. You just throw all your thoughts down on paper. You can come back.
Or on audio. Tape it.
You can come back and fix it. Just get the stuff on paper, and that's what I do. I might do an outline, and I do an outline, and then I think, what would go in this chapter? What would be good for this chapter? And you just start writing your thoughts, just train of thought. And then you go back and you make it pretty. Mm-hmm. You start writing it in complete sentences and use some different words. There's nothing new under the sun, Solomon said, but I think that we can make it look a little bit unique and different with our writing. So, yeah. So
have you used AI at all?
Not for writing books or anything, but I have used it for just other things, like great ideas for marketing, that kind of thing. So, stuff like that.
Well, the point is there are a lot of tools now that when you and I first started writing, there weren't.
Yeah.
I remember the deadline thing was interesting to me. My first book was I've had several publishers and then some that are self-published. But I went up to the publisher's city on my first book, and it was called Corporate Protocol. It was an etiquette book. And I sat down with an editor and the publisher, and it was a really big deal. And I remember thinking, my goodness, this is really hard. Yes. And then but here's what I said to self, and I think this is an important point to make to the audience. If you write one book, you better write more. Or what the hey, you've written one book? Come on, that can be an ebook, but keep going. Or take that one book and make ebooks, but do something, repurpose.
Yeah, I co-authored my first couple of books. The first book was a devotional book with a bunch, several other people. And then I wrote a book called If I Only Had, Wrapping Yourself in God's Truth During Storms of Insecurity, to help women in particular with insecurity.
I was going to ask you if you talk about the women's ministry in a minute. Go ahead.
So wrote that one with Kathy Weiskopf, and she goes, "You're going to write a book by yourself?" I said, "No way." I was like, "No way." Okay. And sure enough, she's right. I've written several, by myself, and so she was right. But that was prophetic. And anyway, but I do like co-authoring. Lane and I did this one together with a team, and it's fun, and then it's great to go back and forth with the edits and to partner with somebody on it. Yeah.
Well, I will just say this is a stunning book, and why not start your day or end your day with something that's inspirational?
Yes.
It's interesting. Inspiration. Doesn't the world need that now? Ironically, on that topic, got a call recently where the client was saying, well, whatever you're going to talk about on this topic, I want it to be inspirational. And I thought, well, yeah, duh. If you can't inspire somebody when you're talking, why are you talking? But I just thought that was fun.
No, that's true.
But you can put your inspiration in a book.
Hey, I spoke right before I even came on this podcast, and my whole goal is to inspire people. It's like I don't ever want to come off as self-serving or self-centered. I really, well, good, I'm glad, but I really want to, empower people. And there were some young women that were so pleased that they came up to me afterwards, and I was able to talk to them and encourage them. Yes.
That's awesome. Lisa, is there a question as a broadcaster and as a host on your podcast and whatever, is there a question that no one's ever asked you?
Oh my goodness.
What would be something I'm going to ask
well,
that you wish they had?
Oh, well, do you ever look back and think, how did this all happen? Because of a very difficult childhood, like, do you ever pinch yourself, and just say, I can't believe that God, I always give credit to God, but God has brought me this far. I don't think I've ever been really asked that. I've been asked about my childhood, but and that was such a long time ago, but still, I love to speak to kids who are in disadvantaged positions, and I also love to go down to the jail here in Dallas, and I go down and I want to talk to them and try to encourage them that they don't have to remain behind bars. And so I think that would be it. I do look back being a fatherless kid, and my mom struggled after that because she watched my dad suddenly pass away of a heart attack when she was pregnant with me, and that was a very difficult start. So I was off and on with my grandparents, and when I look at that, didn't really have any money, and the fact that I even went to college is a miracle. It's really a miracle.
And that was your aunt?
My aunt gave
you the money.
She gave me $3,000, and she said, "You can buy a car, whatever you want to do with it." You don't. And she didn't think I needed to go to school. It was like whatever. And so I said, "No, I'm taking this. I'm plopping it down in the first year of tuition for this college because I knew I needed the schooling in order to move out of the situation." And so when I look back on all that, it's like, wow, thank you so much. Just restoring the life, restoring. And I know there's so many people who are probably watching now. Maybe they don't have restoration yet, or maybe they have been restored and they're relating to me. But everyone can be restored.
Yeah, I think that's
the past can be restored.
Major point, Lisa, and thank you for that. So yours was restoration from a very difficult childhood with your mom.
But look what it did.
Look what it did.
Founded a ministry, because of that. Yeah, I'm on TV. No, anyway, I founded a ministry because of that, and wrote books because of that. Everything I'm doing is really grows out of that.
And that is exactly, I was going to point to this because you said your experiences, whatever they are, contribute to your life's calling.
Yes.
Too many people, maybe, I know to be true, too many people fall under their life's experiences. And here you are, and I think this is my message of one of the reasons I wanted you on the show, Lisa, knowing your background. But, I mean, here you are, a famous sports broadcaster, and you came up from things that could have drug you down. So point is, to audience who are listening or watching, yes, we can resurrect ourselves or whatever, but God has a plan. If you're willing, that was your other one, right?
Yes, if you're willing.
Yeah. How did you say it so beautifully? I've got it right here. Well, one is working for God instead of man makes life more enjoyable. That is so much
fun.
It's a lot more fun because
Yes.
you're in your purpose.
Yes.
In closing, how can people reach out to you? Because obviously you've mentioned, Lisa, and thank you, so many resources that you have for so many people, men and women.
Yes.
And so on the banner, it says Lisa is going to be reached where?
Well, the email is info@pearlsofpromiseministries.com. Our website is pearlsofpromiseministries.com. And I'd love for people to subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's Pearls of Promise Ministries. So that's 3 times. Anyway, hopefully people will subscribe. And that's where all the documentaries, all the television shows are.
And Lisa, I have to grin when you said, when you hit it so hard on subscribe. I know, because I didn't hit any red button before I was doing podcasting. Audience, if you enjoy these shows, if you care about those of us who care about doing these shows. I've got a little card that says push it, and that just means it really does matter. We doing the shows have no idea if they're meaningful. Yes, we can look at the viewership, and that's awesome, but hit the red button. Please hit the red button, right?
Yes, then it'll come across your YouTube channel or whatever, and
Right,
you'll see.
that's all it is.
You'll see the new stuff
We're
that
not
comes
going to
out.
steal anything
No,
from you.
we're
Just
not.
hit the darn red button.
I love it when actually I got a speaking engagement because we had a fan who watched us on YouTube in
See?
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She goes, "I watched Pop Talk," and so that was so exciting. Yeah.
You were meant to do that one.
Yes.
What a joy to have you. What a joy to have you in my world and as a friend. And I've followed your ministry, and I encourage everyone to, for sure, get this book, Treasure, A Pearls of Promise 52-week devotional. So it's just something really nice to take, 1 minute and read and be inspired. And I encourage you to do that. Now, you stay here for a minute because you know I always have a Valerieism, so let me share what it is today. If you set your mind to it, you got to do it. Do you love that?
I love that.
I love that.
That's it.
I was saying that. I was saying to my husband, Doug, give me a quick, quippy, come up with something for this show. I want a fun Valerieism. And he came up with it. So my wonderful husband, Doug, thank you so much. I'm going to say it again. If you set your mind to it, you got to do it.
That's right. And if it comes into your mind, you've got to do it.
And you got to do it.
Yes.
So thank you, my friend,
Thank
for
you very
being
much.
on the show. And until next time, stay authentic. What is it you want to do? Go do it, but do it right. Bye for now.
Love it. Love it.
Thanks for listening. To receive Valerie's voice, free monthly leadership tips, and to learn more about her leadership programs and coaching, visit her website, valerieandcompany.com. Next week, we'll be here again to inspire, engage, and equip you with teachable points of view from successful leaders who have been doing it right. Until then, lead authentically.